Welcome back to Fighters Drinking Coffee. It's episode 8. Where we last left off, we were talking about Scott's recent competition in Chicago. So I figured we kind of touched on it a little bit at the end of last one. I figured we go ahead and talk about my recent competitions this year. You know, I had the super fight with Copa Elite, and then I also had the Virginia Open for IBJJF. My outcomes weren't quite as glamorous, but I actually was pretty proud of the performances, so I figured we'd go ahead and touch on that and kind of talk about a little bit of like circumstances leading up to it. We touched on some of it, but we'll kind of get into that, kind of talk about some of the similar topics, but also kind of get into a little bit of like the losing, because
there's always lessons, right?
Yeah.
Some shit you
So like,
take away.
what kind of the takeaways, kind of the lead ups.
So which one do you want to start with, man?
Well, yeah, so we'll just start at the beginning of the year, right? So we'll start with Copa Elite. So, I had a super fight. This was my first super fight since getting back into competition. It was definitely something on like the radar for this year. So, exiting last year. So last year, started competing again after a pretty long hiatus, probably 7 years off of competition, I think. Maybe.
Sounds right.
Yeah. No, it was 6. Last year was 6 years.
Right.
So it was about 6 years off of competition. So I figured, but coming back into it, I was feeling good after last year. I got a gold medal at IBJJF last year at an open, but regardless, it's a gold medal.
Yeah, dude.
But so, I was feeling good. I was kind of back in my groove. So I wanted to, for this year, I was like, all right, I'm going to compete more. I'm going to do more IBJJFs. I want to do a super fight. Got the super fight out of the way pretty early. But so signed up with Copa Elite. For those of you guys in the area and actually outside, because you can watch it on pay-per-view, I definitely recommend checking those out, because it was a very well-produced event.
It's an awesome event. Dimitri does a good job.
Dimitri does a really good job. The matchmaking was great. They actually, it was very good matchups. Everything was great. And so experience-wise, awesome.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Just like, I suspect this plays a role too, and like part of what you're going to say, man. What do you think, like, since the last time you competed 6 years ago, when you were, fairly active or whatever, what's changed, training-wise or otherwise, between now and then that might factor into how you like approach it differently?
So, I think there's, well, one, I'm, older. So like I definitely, I have a slightly different, back when I was last competing, or before I took the hiatus, there was definitely, I was training full time. So, that's a pretty big difference in and of itself. Cause I was training 2 to 3 times a day, 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, that is a pretty big difference. I'm training now with, which I guess doesn't make too big of a difference, but now I'm training with mostly people that are also Masters competitors. So, that definitely, and I do compete in the Masters division now. So like there's a slight difference, and those guys are awesome. Bunch of tough guys that wake up at 4 a.m.
Well, they're real looks at what guys in your age group in your division are gonna look like too.
Yeah.
So it's applicable.
Yeah, it's I'm not training with a bunch of 20-year-olds, so that helps.
Well, yeah, that's good too. But I understand what you're saying.
I'm getting more.
That's what your division looks like.
Division
These are the guys who you're going to be competing against. So
yeah,
there's like a specificity to it that's valuable.
I'm no longer have, which good and bad. This isn't really a bad thing. I basically get resistance training because I'm the smallest person in the room.
Yeah, I get that.
And so, like before it was a lot of small guys back when we were training at Nova.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of people are like kind of around our size. And so like there wasn't a huge size discrepancy. I think the closest person now is not too much bigger, but like it goes me, someone about like 165 to 170, and then it just jumps up into like jumps up pretty high after that.
200 plus.
You start getting some guys
some
that
big
are like
bodies,
some 185ers, some 200. So like the size discrepancy, but that's not really a huge thing.
Still training, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, but it does kind of change up the way you have to train. But yeah, like now I'm having to be a little more like I have to be more intentional with like how I approach it, because I have to basically create my camp. We're not like, it's not like the old days where like everyone's always kind of, we were a little more just like competition focused all the time back when we used to train, right? Like at Nova, like we were kind of always mindful of it, but we were also competing way more frequently. So, it's just slightly different, and like priorities are a little bit different. So like, I can't just train all the time. So, but I mean, other than that, like not a whole lot. I'm now getting back into kind of like the extra training. Like, I also am working with the team. I now also have that strength coach, getting back with like, and this is part of that is something I didn't have before. Like I did always have the strength coach, train with Kamal and all of that. Like I had someone leading my extra workouts for me, but I didn't always have someone like kind of helping on like the nutrition and weight cut side. I was taking that on myself. And so like now I don't have to worry about that. So like right now I've been feeling way better about that than I did in the past. Cause in the past it was just like,
it was all on you. Basically.
It was all on me. Yeah. So taking that load off, now I can just focus on actually doing the training, and I just have like, all right, this is what I'm going to eat today. This is what I'm going to eat today. So it helps. That helps a lot too. So like, my next one's up in July. And so I have a very, like, I'm feeling like all I have to do is focus on competing in July. So, extra support, all of that. But also like the competitions are way better now, I think. Like, I think there's more people. It's better run than it used to be. There definitely was a little bit of like, and not to, put down 6 years ago, they were doing a good job, but like now there's definitely more people in the pool. They can be more professional. They're not having to like squeeze a bunch of people together. And so
the skill level, and from my observation, the skill level is a lot higher in these tournaments. There's more people, and that probably means these these competition leagues or whatever you want to call them, these companies basically, they have to provide a better product.
Yeah.
They have to compete more, because there's like any given month, like in our area, you've got options, man. You've got like 2 to 5 months where you can pick which one's better. And like, dude, I won't do it today, but like, I'm fine shitting on some of those divisions, man. Some of them piss me off, like how unprofessional they still are, dude. Anyways.
I just don't want to, I don't want to shit on them for things 6 years ago, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. But dude, to that point, like they just have to do a good job, man, which is like, why we shouted out Dimitri. Like he does his Copa events, his tournaments and his super fights he puts a lot of focus on quality, which attracts better athletes.
Yeah.
And it means you're getting your money's worth. It's just, it points, the world of competition is way better now than it was six years ago, like you said.
Absolutely. But, get back to kind of the Copa event. So like we talked about it a little bit, but so morning of, let's go a little bit further back. So like 2 weeks before, I was probably 2 weeks before the event, I was definitely like in the right spot training wise. I was like mentally, I was in killer mode. I was feeling great. And then that like weekend, I got hit with like the flu.
Oof.
And so I got like just kind of bumped down. And then the first day I was feeling good, which I believe was the week before. So this was so I guess he got hit with the flu. Yeah. So 2 weeks before the event. And so I lost half a week of training to the flu, got back, had my first day back training. And then that day I like got my finger caught in a machine severed.
Damn.
And actually
did you lose any weight when you had the flu too? Like were you like, cause I feel like when people get the flu, they don't eat as much. Sometimes like vomit, dude, if you feel that bad. I don't know.
Luckily I didn't have that. I wasn't vomiting, but like, I couldn't eat as much. I was like, feeling
skinny guy,
ill, but then I severed like I cut it open, but I definitely like severed. You can see it here.
God
you
damn,
guys
dude.
can't because we don't have video, but you can see like it's balled up here.
Nice.
So it's one of like either the tendon or ligament in my finger actually like got severed when I got it cut.
Oh fuck!
But so I had this.
He's got like a bubble on his knuckle, guys.
Yeah,
he looks like one of those orcs from the specifically. There's this orc in the Lord of the Rings, the last one. What's the last one called? Whatever.
Return of the King.
That one.
Yeah.
Who has like all these bubbles on his shit. That's your hand, bro.
Yeah. But so I got a nice gash in my pinky, which luckily not
it's just
super
a pinky.
important. But But so I also was losing. I lost like the rest of the week to that, and then
This is like basically like it's overlapping with week of, right?
yeah.
It's
So
like a week before, but then we're getting into like the week of the tournament.
Yeah, so I cut it on the Wednesday, the week before Copa Elite, and then I got the stitches out the Wednesday of the week of Copa Elite.
Dang.
And so
had it closed up though, or was it still kind of like,
it was still
dang, son.
it was still bleeding at Copa Elite.
Fuck.
So because I just went in, they said 7 to 10 days. I was like, cool. I'm going in on day 7. I'm having my sutures removed. It was not closed. 2 to 3 of them popped in. He had already fallen out. So, I was like, fuck it, just take them out. We'll make it work. We'll tape them. We'll wrap it in some gauze. We'll tape the fingers and it'll be fine. But so, yeah, I mean, I lost a little bit of time at the end, which definitely like, and I'm not making excuses here. This is just kind of to get into like the mental aspect of this. Like that definitely took me out of like 2 weeks before I was right where I needed to be like 2 weeks before. And then all it takes is like that little bit of time to like a little wrench can throw you off of like the mental pathway.
Well, 100%. And like, dude, it's you're definitely not making an excuse.
Mm-mm.
However, like it's not irrelevant that, and this is something like that as an athlete or like even as a coach, like it's just like for competition that lasts like 10 to 14 days. A lot of times it's just keeping someone healthy and not getting them injured. So like, because this kind of shit happens, it sucks.
Oh yeah.
And it can, how could it not have an impact on the event itself? Like it does. So it's like totally worth pointing out that like you're doing all the right shit. And then like 2 things you have no control over can like steal some of your gains.
And to like kind of tie this a little bit too, the injury happened like right after like we finalized the matchup. Like that, we finalized the matchup like on Sunday.
The finger, you mean?
Yeah, the finger injury.
It.
So like, I was like, I'm not pulling out.
Nah, yeah, you wanted it.
I wanted the
you're
match.
Going
so
in
like,
it, which is cool.
And, so like, definitely like, I was like, I'm not pulling out over a stupid cut on my pinky. But you lose those out of the last 14 days. I lost roughly 8 of them. I couldn't start training again until like the Thursday before the match. So like I had Thursday, Friday, match was on or super fight was on Saturday. So the event was on Saturday. But second I got those stitches out, got them out on the Wednesday, made plans with the James, shout out to him for cornering me. But so we made plans on the Thursday so Doc was going to come in, hey, we're going to go and train. So got in there, got a good training session in. I was like, all right, cool. Cardio's fine. Had to think, had to basically go and build a plan around like, all right, how do I not worry about this finger? And so we had to kind of build that confidence back up that like, dude, you don't need to worry about this. It's fine. So like, it changes up. Basically we had to go from, I'd been training for this from kind of hit it right after Thanksgiving is when I really started like camping for it. Cause we knew we were going to have a match. We didn't know who it was going to be against until 2 weeks before, but hey, there's going to be a match. This is what we're going to do. Who cares who it is? And then, in those last 14 days after 2.5 months, you have to rebuild that plan because now there's something.
Oh, you're changing the plan.
Yeah. Well,
because your body has been impacted, dude.
Yeah.
In this case, you're kind of like, all right, now I have to call like an audible at the very last minute to do something different. Because like you said, you're like, all right, my right hand is, and by the way, people, you use your hands a lot in jiu-jitsu. So like it impacts things.
Yeah. The whole hand fighting method has to change because now like, I don't want someone grabbing those fingers, right? Because like
that's going to tear open the wound,
it's going to hurt or it's going to open it up, blood time, all, who knows, they might stop it if it's bad enough. I don't know. But so, we had to basically with 2 days left, rebuild a game plan. But going into it Saturday, with the exception of just those like kind of jitters about like just the weight, get in Saturday, get that like just kind of hanging out at the venue, getting settled in, you get your rules meeting, kind of get your lay of the land, walk around a little bit. Was feeling awesome. Once we got to the venue, awesome. Feeling great. Got my warm up in, got great sweat going, and I was locked in, ready to go. And which I should learn this by now, that like we're not wrestling when we go out. Like that's not I need to figure this out at this point, that like, and once we get through both events, I have a lot of takeaways.
You have a summary?
I have a lot of takeaways,
right.
but like I definitely need to figure out like people are pulling guard. That's a thing people do.
Yep. Yeah, they do that.
Despite that, I have a strong moral obligation not to, but that's a me thing. But so like, we get out there immediately, like we tie up immediately, they pull guard and just picked them up. That was the game. That's my game plan when people pull guard is stand up.
Awesome.
Whether that means picking them up or just standing up in the guard right to work the break. That was something from last year that I figured out. So that has become a big part of my game because of that's how I won my match the year before at IBJJF. So that's how I won the gold medal. But so picked him up. I'm literally just walking around the mat, carrying this guy around. And this is kind of where this is after that turn is where I kind of figured out this is where the learning moments come in for me, because I'm walking around the mat. I'm looking at the ref. I'm kind of trying to figure out like, he's doing a good job of holding on. He's strong legs, guys holding on tight, but he's just holding on. And
should have slammed them.
I wish you could. They don't let you do that. That's how it's not in the rules for Copa.
It's relevant. It's not a legal move. It's relevant for a number of reasons. but whatever. Some other time.
Yeah. But you
chose not to slam him because you didn't want to get disqualified.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Reasonable.
I think that's the way to go about it.
Reasonable.
But I'm kind of looking, because I carried him around for about a minute.
So you deadlifted this guy.
I just picked him up,
and you're like holding him up, and he's holding on to you, and you're like, all right.
I mean, I was literally arms out.
He's holding like your rib cage. And
he's got one overhook, and he's like holding on. He's got like a seatbelt around.
Got it.
And so like I was literally I could put both arms out and walk around the mat with my arms out and
spin around.
Yeah. But so I'm waiting for. And credit to him, he was very strong. To be able to hold on,
he wanted that.
He wanted
I'll stand
to
up
keep
with
me
you
there,
right here all day.
But
holding on to you for dear life.
I'm looking at the ref, and I'm not really. It didn't seem like the ref was concerned about like time, like how long this guy. Like I was just carrying this guy.
He will allow it.
So I was like, okay, I'm not going to get he's not going to get a stalling call. I'm not getting a stalling call, but. I feel like if I'm carrying someone around, I shouldn't get a stalling call. But so, nothing's going, and I'm like, all right, I need to do something. And so I carry him back to the center of the mat, and I put him down.
Should have slammed him.
But DQ'd.
Yeah.
But so, I put him back down and try to start working. And then just kind of in the sequence, I end up getting caught in a triangle and submitted. Like that was, and so, that was the game there. And so coming off of that, we're like, all right, let's hardwire in triangle defense. That's the takeaway from today. Hardwire in the triangle defense. Everything else fine. Like we need to build that in. So fast forward, we go through, that's done. Take like a week off of like worrying about competition. But then, a month later, I guess that would be, little over a month.
It was
a month and a half.
It was March 1st or 2nd or whatever. Maybe it was like first couple of days of March was in Virginia Open.
Yeah, so
March 3rd or something.
Yeah, so it was it might have been 14th.
Well, Copa, I think it was the
12th. I don't know. Whatever it was.
Copa was early February, early maybe slightly mid, and then you're right.
Yeah,
it was like 3 weeks later.
It was like 3 weeks to a month later.
I just remember that date because that was when Copa Virginia, like the tournament, was going to be the same day as IBJJF.
Well, yeah,
and then Dimitri moved it.
They announced the
Virginia
the Virginia Open for the spring, like right the week of, like the week after the Copa Elite event.
Right.
I think it was something like that, or
It was sprung on quick. It messed up a lot of people's plans. But
yeah. It was like right before Copa Elite they had announced it. So like
I wasn't. To your point, you didn't really have a big. There's not like a major layoff between the two.
No, so like which was both good, but also like it was a little long of being like just in competition, like straight through, like coming off a camp for a super fight and then not really getting like some rest, especially having been sick and injured right there. So
it
definitely got
you had
your
hand cut off. They had to tie your fucking finger back on.
Yeah, but I still like, luckily, that means the conditioning was still solid, like everything, still in the competition mindset, but like coming off of it is like, all right, maybe I should have only done one of these. Like I needed a little bit more time, but it was good because like I had all of that fresh in my mind and I did both gi and no gi. So I did 2 days. But so got into the event, everything's feeling good. I'm running around coaching everyone all day, which is fine. That was good. Kept my heart rate up, kept me moving. I got good warm-ups in because I would warm the guys up. So like I was staying moving. I was getting my heart rate up. All of that was good. Weight was good. I didn't have to worry about that because I basically just stayed on weight. I had like a quick balloon after like that week of, because I was like, fuck it, I'm eating. But like, ballooned up, came back down, landed right. I think I was like 146, 147. So not too low. I was aiming for, 149 is the top of the division. So I want to be a little bit heavier, but it was better than the year before. I think I was like 145.
Right.
So did a better job of like weight management and all of that, but still would want to be heavier. But yeah, I mean, it was, kind of had an idea of who was going. I had the second seed. So I was seeded in the middle. So I had like a mid seed. So I had a first round bye. Bracket was pretty dang big for gi. And I had the number 2 seed. This is the guy actually ended up winning the whole tournament. But so like got out there, kind of knew, all right, he's probably going to pull guard. So we get out and like this time I was like, all right, I'm not going to immediately go to like near like zone 1 tie up, like ear to ear or like, ear to ear. We're not going to collar tie to begin. We're going to go with like a post out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we started out, we posted out, and to you guys' credit, he pulled from like that long guard and actually like did a good job of getting in. I was able to stop like him from getting underneath or anything like that, like you were talking about, but like got in, I was able to close it in and immediately stand up. This wasn't picking him up, but like he came in and I was immediately popping up. And so like, game plan's working exactly like I've been working for when people pull guard, which is, all right, they pull guard, we're popping straight up. We're getting up. That is plan A.
It's 101.
So going in, pop up, pop up, pop up. And so like each time we'd pop up, begin a passing sequence. And we had a pretty good, I don't know how long it was because I wasn't paying attention to the clock, but like good, we were having it was a really good, like fast paced working match, like back and forth. I'd begin to pass, he'd go to work something, I'd attack, he'd attack, I'd attack, he'd attack. He'd throw up a triangle, I'd immediately break through it. And so like we were having a really, back and forth match, near submission or, good, strong submission attempt, near pass, good submission attempt, near pass. And so we were kind of working this, like we had this back and forth going, but then he catches this, he throws the triangle on, I immediately stuff the triangle.
Okay, so you got back into the thing you had done last time, but your adjustment worked.
Yeah, the adjustments worked, like stuffing the triangle. So like immediately like, all right, the learning from the loss was like a very like...
You're demonstrating to yourself.
Yeah. Hey, we learned something.
Yeah.
The game plan is working. We've adjusted for the mistakes. Like I know I leave that out because it's just the way, the way that I position myself for my passes. I know I kind of leave that
exposure.
It is an opening in my game and I know this. So like, hey, let's just use it. And so we were in this triangle. I had his leg pinned, but he grabs the wrist and starts going for kind of like a mirror lock type thing, but I'm not having any shoulder pressure. And so I'm like, all right, let's chill here. I've got the triangle blocked. I'm not worried about that. And then I'm like, shoulder's fine. Not worried about that. Let's just try to like keep inching so I can break through this leg. I'm like, he can have the arm. If he focuses too much on that, I'll get through the leg, I'll circle around, and I'll get my pass. And then my elbow just went boom. And like the ref stopped it like as I went to tap. So, which same ref I've had for every IBJJF match. But so, that was day one. So like, feeling good, conditioning was good. I could feel him like starting to breathe heavy under my attempts and my forward pressure and all of that. But then, sometimes things give out, and so I had to tap out, and it happens. And so, coming off the mat, I was like, I think it was just kind of a pop. I think everything's probably fine. And then that evening, I started to kind of like feel it sore, started getting a little achy. And I'm like, all right, well, you know what? For Sunday for no gi, I have a bye straight to the finals. Like, I'll just do it. Like,
out.
Worst case, I go out there, it doesn't want to cooperate, and I'll just see what happens.
Yep.
So, Sunday comes around. I'm like the last person to compete from the team, and ended up, in the bullpen. I'm waiting. I'd warmed up earlier, and I was a little skeptical of like the stability of it, but I was like, I think I can work around it. We worked around the finger. I think I can work around the elbow and go out. And the guy I was going against was a wrestler. So I was like, all right, cool. We're going to get to do a little bit of stand-up work. He shoots in, I sprawl in it, stuff the first takedown. But in the sequence of like of defending that takedown and like sprawling out and like going to go behind, my elbow popped like 2 or 3 more times. And I was like, and just like I started to lose like feeling in it. And so like it started to hurt. And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I just couldn't like apply pressure with that arm. And the way that I decided to go was to the right. So I had to keep pressure with the arm on his head. I'm with my left arm on his head. Which is
now not working.
Which is now like not working. It's not working properly.
You're down one arm.
So yeah, it was, so, I just kind of go to spin behind, and then I just kind of push him out of bounds, and so that we get reset to the center. And then on the second attempt, he shoots to my left side, and I couldn't block. I could feel like I got like one more pop, but it wasn't too bad. But like,
so now we're at like 4 pops in about a day
in the same day. But so like he shot in, I couldn't defend, and like it was a good shot. Like so the dude wrestled at Ithaca, and he was actually a pretty cool dude. Got to talk with him afterwards. But like, he shot in, and like I went to like a knee shield half guard, and like I went to frame with that left arm, and like I just couldn't frame. So I was just like,
it ain't working.
Like, let's just see how he ends up choking me with the anaconda to that side. And I was like, you know what? This wasn't meant to be today. I was like, maybe I was a little dumb to compete today. Yeah, I mean, like, and worked out by the finals, get that consolation silver. So not too bad. But, I guess you get rewarded for having earned.
You showed
spot,
up, bro.
Right? But yeah, so like that was so far this year. I have more scheduled, but and I felt I probably shouldn't have gone out on Sunday and competed, but like overall, like going from getting triangled in February to then like being able to defend and beat that. And I felt way better in March than I did in January. I had a little more of the alignments, but like remembering what it's like to lose and like in that setting, especially when like you felt good and ready, and like not at the Virginia Open, like I mentally was like great, not nervous, wasn't nervous before. My wife might disagree, I guess. She says I act weird before tournaments. But that's just locking in. But
yeah. I bet you did act.
The appropriate amount of anxiety, right? Like that anxiety management. But so, like I felt good. I felt like everything was where it needed to be. I wouldn't say I'd say not nervous. I wouldn't say I wasn't anxious, but it was, I felt like everything was appropriately harnessed, right? Like the anxiety was where it needed to be. I felt good about everything going into it.
You got dialed in.
It felt like it did 6 years before, right? Like back when I was competing more at that high frequency, and like I was back in that mode. I was back to it. And so like it felt right, comfortable, kind of getting back to where it was when I was competing all the time. And I wasn't upset that I lost, because I wasn't not proud of what I put out there. I guess, like, the exception of like I probably shouldn't have competed on Sunday. But like I wasn't upset with my performance, I think is probably the best way to put it. Like I went out and I put it out there, and that's both competitions. And like I think there's something to that, watching other people that compete and watching other people, like when other people lose, right? Like you can tell the difference between the guys that do it a lot, they compete a lot, and you can even see it at like the super high levels, right? Like when you see the guys at like ADCC and CJI, like they're not, they might be, they're upset that they lost, but like it doesn't destroy them, right? Like you don't see those guys, like, for the most part, they're not like throwing a fit when they lose. They aren't like broken down by it, because they know what they're capable of. And like, if you're going to compete at a high level, you have to have a certain amount of like, it's almost cockiness. It's a confidence thing, but like you have to have a certain amount of belief in yourself to do it. And like, I think I got that back. And like, that felt good. I knew when I knew afterwards, like, you know what, you went out there and you performed better this time than you did last time. And so it was mentally good. So, I had really good takeaways. I figured out some holes in my game. I knew, all right, let's get stronger so these things don't break. Let's get the diet right so that we're not light on competition day. Like, cardio is fine. We don't need to worry about cardio. Let's focus on strength. Let's focus on reinforcing those joints. As Asim said a couple episodes ago, let's armor up, right? So
what else do you want to do differently? Those are big, by the way.
Yeah.
Those are huge for like between now and in July, when you do your next Virginia Open, and you've already taken you've taken steps on that. So that's gonna have an impact. But what else? Like, what else do you want to do differently?
I think there's definitely some ways I can alter how I approach like camp, like like a training camp and it's not really like a training camp. Like I think there's ways that like I can approach those final like training sessions a little more like smartly, like that last like couple weeks. Like I think there's definitely like some prevention and control things that I should be doing.
Are you speaking to like staying like going hard but protecting the body?
Yeah.
So I'm picking up what you're putting down.
But then also like training hard, protecting the body. But like I actually sat down with my coach for jiu-jitsu, and I sat down with him and I was like, hey man, like what should I be focusing on? Like what am I doing? And like I kind of had like an idea in my head, but I wanted to get it from the outside, right? Like what is something that I'm doing that like is making this harder for myself? And like one of those things, and like internally I was like, I feel like I want to, like I try to make something happen. Like I want to put on like the show, right? Like I want to, like with Copa, I was like, I wanted to keep the show going. It was less about like, oh, I'll just carry him around and, maybe I'll win because I'm carrying him around for 5 minutes, right? It was, we're here to put on a show. You're under the lights. Like you have a crowd, like you have crowd noise. You have people like, you pick them up. People are kind of laughing when you walk up to the edge of the stage and you like, throw in, you can hear people cheering, and you can also hear the crickets, right? You can hear when it gets quiet, and when things get quiet, and this might just, this is an internal thing, right? You feel like, at least for me, I feel like something needs to happen. And so when that silence hits, it's like, all right, we need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I probably don't from just like a competition standpoint, right? Like I'm not the person right now that needs to do something, maybe. But so that was something I kind of knew is like, oh, like I have an urgency that is purely internally motivated. That might not be an urgency that's required, right? Like in some instances. And like, yeah, there's times when you have to keep moving and you have to keep pushing because there is no clear person on top. But like when you have another 4 minutes left on the match, maybe we don't need to push the envelope yet, right?
You have to rush. You don't have to rush and make a mistake because you've got time.
Exactly.
But I do like the showmanship thing.
That's
why I was saying you should have
smashed
smashed that dude. Threw him off the edge. Maybe he was like, Dimitri would not like this, but maybe we can convince him to do like Royal Rumble type rules where like if you throw them off the mat, you win, dude. Because in Royal Rumble, if you flip them over the ropes, they're out, dude. But
maybe I just carry him down the stairs.
Well, but for what it's worth, and it sounds like this is a good thing. I mean, it sounds like just maybe some tactical decisions. Because like strategically, dude, like I think putting on a show is a good thing. And and I know Dimitri values that. But you can do both, right? You can do both in an exciting, cool way that still gets you winning matches.
Yeah.
But so I understand what you're saying, but I do think that impulse to be like, yo, let's make some shit happen, man.
Yeah.
People paid to be here, man. They're for those who don't know, who are listening, like a super fight is basically like, it's like there's one fight at a time on a mat surrounded by a crowd. So they're watching you specifically. Whereas at tournaments,
under the lights,
it's under the lights, it's recorded, it's on camera. It is a show. It's a show. And there is like an entertainment aspect to it that's a good thing, dude. Is what I'm saying. Tournaments are a little different. Tournaments, it's like going to like, I don't know, it's like going to a swim meet or something. It's like
there's
for
the most part,
people are like it's there's half the crowd is like a shit ton of like competitors, people running around. There's usually like 5 or 6 at least matches going at the same time. So people are watching you. There's still that showmanship, but like a super fight is just it is a show where people bought tickets to watch it.
Yeah. But so like the combined takeaway, and this was from like, from my coach, was, hey, let's be less committal and more intentional. And like I've started doing that more in my training, and like it actually, especially like I have a pretty active game. Like I tried, like I'm not sedentary when I'm in top position. Like I continue to keep moving. I'm relatively aggressive, looking for things. But like he said, let's be less committal and more intentional. And, like you don't have to hold on to that one thing, and that doesn't have to be the thing you do. Like we can grab it and we can be intentional. Like we're going to go for this, but if it's not there, you don't have to stay on it. Like something else might show up. You can take that other thing. Yeah. And so I started doing that, and like, honestly, it's been great. Like I've been feeling more things open up, and like, it's been opening my game up. I've also been working more guard, even though I don't really plan to be there, but I've been working more guard just to kind of have more options. But yeah, like that less committal, more intentional thing has like that's been like what I've been using to guide it recently. And like, it's been opening up a lot of stuff. Cause like, you don't lose positions. Like I'm staying working in like within the realm. And like, I can go from like, oh, let's grab the Kimura, but then we can also have this option in this armbar over here. And then, oh, there's the back. Here's the choke. And like, it's creating more of like a flowing game. And so like, that's been kind of the focus going into it. But yeah, I mean, so like, it was good. Like losing was good in this instance because it's elevated a lot for me. And like, we've found holes, we've closed them too. Like we know that this is an issue. Let's go ahead and close up that triangle. Let's go ahead and, we know you leave it. I know I leave it out there, like leave the triangle available when I go to do certain breaks and passes. So like, maybe we can turn that into a bait. Like maybe we can use these things. So like it's definitely was like constructive. And, I've got this framework. We're adding in things with coaching with the seam, the nutrition control, trying to build on a little weight so that we can get to the top of the weight division. And so like, that should make things going into July the goal is to be basically a whole different competitor, come in with a new game plan. Well, not too different of a game plan, but
executed in a more proficient way.
Yeah, coming in with like a slightly different execution.
Coming in as an enhanced athlete.
Mike 2.0. Or I guess it's 3.0 at this point.
Something like that.
Yeah, we'll see. But so like just trying to create this way that I can, one, get a little more longevity, less injuries, but also change that game up to where we're fixing some of like the issues. And so, yeah, I mean, it's good stuff.
It is good stuff.
So, yeah, you have anything to add?
The only thing I'd say, like, dude, like you made a comment about like dudes at those high level tournaments. The thing I think who don't get crushed by losses, it's a lot of what we're talking about here. Like the people who are super active at that level, they always have like another event, another thing in front of them that they're looking to. There's always like a next step. It's like a loss or a win's like a step on a path towards like the next accomplishment. So it gives you like this big picture perspective that then allows you to take something like that and then make it productive, because there's always another fight you have to go to where you're going to either get the opportunity for redemption or like to learn another thing if you lose. So there's always like, I guarantee you those guys don't like losing, but the way they handle it in a productive way, because there's really no other way to do it. Like if a loss is going to derail you, you're not going to make it very far in this sport. And moreover, like same win or lose, like it's like you're not done at that point unless you're retiring.
Yeah.
Like unless you're completely like, this is it. I'm going to retire. This needs to be my best jiu-jitsu match ever, or I'm going to forever live with regret. Like,
well, I guess with those guys, like
they have another thing, man. Like they're ADCC champions, or whatever.
With ADCC, they have like 2 more years. They're going to be, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I need to do when I get back here in 2 years, right? Like,
or they'll have a super fight, or they'll have Pan Am's is coming up in like 2 months, or they have Worlds. It's like they know that like, I got the next thing. And like, I'm not done. This is my last. It's not my first. It's not my last. I'm going to keep going. And you just, I think you make it about that. Like, it just becomes, honestly, like the best thing is it's like a job. It's business.
Yeah.
You have good days, you have bad days in the office, man. Like you handle it like a professional. You don't cry about it. Like you don't have to like it. In fact, you shouldn't like it, but like you just make it productive.
Yeah.
That's all.
Find a way to come back from it, come back stronger. Do better next time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and next time is the word there. Like, were you going to quit after this? Big fucking deal. Like, if the answer is yes, then like, all right, cool, then you're done.
Yeah.
If whatever
kicks you out of the sport, then I guess it's not the sport.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, seriously. Like, it's like this. You're gonna move on to the next one, and it just all of the exercise of doing all this. It's obviously very good for your development as a jiu-jitsu athlete, but in other aspects of your life, so there's like an exercise in that, like an accountability that you really feel that you must adhere to, because you're like, everyone just saw me get triangled or whatever, big fucking deal. But at the same time, you're like, I don't want that to be the last thing that I ever do. I'm going to address it. I'm going to work on it. So
next time we're not going to get triangled.
Well, that's just like, I mean, dude, I'll tell you this, man. I know a lot of people who don't take accountability for a lot of shit in their life. And like, they're not the type of people I want to be around typically. So it's like the people who do this and make a habit out of that, like the likelihood that they're going to maybe do that in other aspects of their life enhances everything they do. Like, okay, cool. That's like a dude or that's a lady like who is got their shit together. Like that is cool. That's heroic.
Yeah.
That's the hero's journey. And the people who like cry and bitch and moan about like shit and complain and the victims, like, fuck that, dude. So in conclusion.
Yeah. So like, hopefully you guys also can gather some stuff from my recent 2 losses. Like hopefully, that for those of you who are competing, maybe you've also had some losses recently, and like maybe me talking about it can help you through that. I don't know. Helps me to talk about it. But yeah, so, Fighters Drinking Coffee, guys, thanks for listening. So we'll go ahead and wrap for today. Just a reminder, we're going to have join the Discord. We'll have that in the show notes. Find us on socials. I'll start adding that to the show notes too.
It's in the show notes.
And then,
like, subscribe,
follow, subscribe.
Give us a 5-star review.
5-star review. Tell us you hate us. I don't care. but hit 5 stars. It helps us on the algorithm. So that'll help get us to more people, help more people find us, and hopefully they enjoy the show and it helps them as well. So yeah.
Watch that
coffee, guys.
Watch that Jocko Good video.
Oh,
on
the good
repeat.
video,
Yeah, anytime like if you
something
feel
bad happened to you, good.
Yeah, if you feel salty about some shit in life, whether it's jiu-jitsu or not, if you're letting jiu-jitsu like ruin your life, like, you know, take a step back.
Yeah,
it's
not that serious.
Not that big of a deal.
It's fun though.
Rules. No, it is, but it isn't. Like, it's cool, but like also like just cool it down a little bit.
It's not the end of the world.
It's meant to be a good thing. You can't let it like have like if your mood is your mood and like your mental well-being fluctuates completely based upon some things like this. Like, you gotta like get a little perspective.
Yeah,
it's like a good opportunity that you even get to do this stuff. But yeah,
guys.
Okay, the end.
The end.
Bye.